The bell
From a
ringer.
big family.
So I loved when everyone walked in the door tonight. They just went, oh. We are gathering together after a crazy year. And I know for some people this is their first night out in a long time. So yay, we did it. You came, we came. And as we're going to talk about tonight, sometimes hosting things and putting programs out is always a leap of faith. So thank you guys for coming, and we are glad that you thought the same way that we did, that we just wanted to get together with like-minded women and celebrate some of the things that we're doing. So again,
Tracey.
my name is Tracey Miller, and I'm the founder of the Women's Wellness Exchange, and we're just really excited to have both some members and non-members here tonight. How many people are members of the Women's Wellness Exchange? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming. So first off, I wanted to thank Erin, who is our social media person. Many of you have been in touch with her. I'm going to thank Kath in a second because that's another reason that we can be here, but I'm going to hold off 1 second. And I guess the team, we'll wait till thank the crew after. Is that okay? So as I was thinking about what I wanted to kind of say tonight, I was thinking about all the seeds that were planted to bring us here tonight. I was thinking about Kath opening the doors to her natural food store, which just makes me want to cry, without a glimmer in her eye of what the possibilities were and what the potential was, and that we would be here tonight, right? Because she created this beautiful space. I think of the health coach who put their card at the massage therapist, and someone found that card, and that card was me, that I found that card, and I found a health coach, and she changed my life. All those little seeds. I think of the farmers who literally planted seeds, not knowing if the weather would cooperate, not knowing if anyone would buy the food, but they grew the food, and here we are eating their beautiful local food. So with that said, I would love to just raise a toast to Kath for creating, if you don't know Kath Gallant, she is the founder of the Blue Moon Evolution Blue Moon Health Food Store, Blue Moon Evolution, and now she's handing it down to her daughters, which we will hopefully get to introduce them, just to say thank you for creating this beautiful space. So, and that's 25 years. Right? 25 years that she created this, the seeds that we plant. So I think about what it means to be what I call a wellnesspreneur or a entrepreneur or a coach. Even no matter what we're doing, if we're in our business, as an entrepreneur, solopreneur, we are creating something, right? But it's not easy to be an entrepreneur. And actually, when we first started talking about this session, it was Lanta and I and Hilary, who I'll introduce in a second, and we were going to call this like Bless This Mess or something like that, because we were like, the real down and dirty of what it's like to be an entrepreneur, and getting to know all the things that you need to do, the email systems and the bookkeeping and all this crazy stuff that we do. So I think the most important thing is that when we think of an entrepreneur or just someone who's working on their own like that, is that there's a lot of risk involved. Right? You have to put yourself out there every single day. You have to market yourself. You don't know when people are going to show up. But I also think that's the beauty of it, that we believe in ourselves enough that we come out, that we offer what we think will be of value to someone, and that we help people along the way. And I really think we need to give ourselves some major kudos for that, because I have met with many of you in the room, and I know many of you, and you're doing some amazing things, and that's also what we want to celebrate tonight. So we did, over these last couple months, with the University of New Hampshire, we did a survey. We were selected as one of 15 kind of startup companies to work with, and the students helped us do a survey. It's called the Women Working for Wellness, because that's what we do, right? We're working for wellness for the people that we serve in our communities. And it's been a crazy several months, and I've probably talked to, 60 or 70 women via Zoom, of course, all via Zoom. And then with the results of the survey, some of the things that came out of it was that 100% of the women said it was true or very true that they are in this as a woman in wellness because they are passionate about healing people. Not surprising, right? Everybody raise your hand, right? You're passionate about healing people. 100% also said that is their purpose. And 95% said that it was their own health journey that led them to want to heal others, right? So is that true for a lot of people here? So I was listening to Tara Brach the other day. Anyone know Tara Brach? If you don't, you've got to look her up on YouTube. She's just amazing. But she was talking about, particularly this time, but really just in general, that it's not about the survival of the fittest anymore. It is about the survival of the nurtured, right? That people need to be nurtured. People need to be heard. People need to believe in themselves and trust in themselves. And she talked about this story in Zimbabwe, where they have 16 million people with a lot of conflict and strife, right? And within that 16 million people, they had 12 therapists. And here these people are, recovering some major trauma. So what they did is that they pulled together the wise women, the grandmothers, and they trained them a little bit, and they created these things called friendship benches. And what they did was that they brought people to the grandmothers because people just needed to be heard. They needed someone to talk to. They needed someone to hear their stories, to know that they were not alone. And they could have built a hospital. They could have, built another university to train more. But they drew upon the women, the grandmothers, the wise women. And I think that's really important because, we as wellnesspreneurs, we are the ones, in the communities taking time to talk to people, right? Because we don't have a 15-minute time slot that we can really hear what people are saying, really hear what's going on with them, and really reflect back to them what they need to hear about themselves. And what this also does is it brings in those really feminine qualities, to the healing that we provide, but also to the businesses that we work for. And when you think about it, the feminine qualities really bring in more intuition and less prescription. More listening, less talking, more trusting ourselves, more self-inquiry, and more self-education, which I love. And it's less linear, more cyclical. It's about relationships. And this is what we do. This is what we as women are good at. So I also love that a couple weeks ago we had one of our monthly workshops was about bringing in the feminine to our business and our life, and it was just a beautiful conversation. And one of the women kind of gave a history, and she said in ancient times the wise women were called conversation with women, and I think conversation is really underestimated as a forum for learning and healing and really taking things to the next level. So I hope you guys had some good conversation. I realize you probably didn't need a conversation starter because you all just came in and started talking. So we are conversation women. So we're going to talk a little bit about our why tonight. And I hope you guys got a little bit of a chance to talk about that, because that's really what brings us here, right? That really is what we're here for, our why. And I really created the Women's Wellness Exchange for two reasons. One is that I wanted to provide a resource that I could have used in my 30s when I was struggling with my health problems, and I kept going to doctor after doctor saying, fix me, help me. And it had no mind-body connection, and they just kept, you know the story. They kept giving me the pill, and I'm like, well, what about my diet? I knew enough to start asking questions, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the person until I found that health coach's card at my massage therapist office. So I wanted to create a resource for women so they could come in and find amazing women like you, and find different modalities of healing and different ideas, and maybe find what they're not looking for, what they don't even know exists yet. Like, I did not know that there were health coaches, right? So, this was 15 years ago. So, the second reason that I did this is that, I jumped corporate ship. I was living in Washington, D.C. I was, working the 60, 80 hours a week, and, of course I was all very exciting, made great money, but I just did not feel good in my body. So I come to New Hampshire and become an entrepreneur because it looks so glamorous, right? Little did I know. So I to be an entrepreneur and to work in your office. Of course, we have clients and we offer programs, but you know, you're the jack of all trades. You're the one that's really taking care of everything, and it can be very isolating. And you know, I am so fortunate that Kath and I ended up working together for several years, and that was such a gift to me. But you know, I would love to have had a group of women that I could, you know, email or talk to or communicate with about, like, how did you do this? What did you do here? You know, do you use constant contact or whatever? I mean, just so many different questions. So I am really my own target audience, and I tried to create something that I would have wanted, you know, on my journey. And a couple other things on the survey. That women are saying is 100% of the women surveyed said they want more informal ways of supporting their business. Informal. We don't want the business coach that's going to say you're going to make $1 million in 5 days if you follow my prescription, right? That's just not us. They want, 100% said they want to support and advocate for each other. 86% said they would like a mentorship program. So for the new women who are coming into this, and there are many in our membership, that they would love to connect with someone else to just be able to talk about some of the things that they have gone through and learned from, right? And 99% said they want to hear from other women. They want to hear those successes and those challenges. So again, conversation, connection. And if you look on the table here, there's some more information. And on the back of the survey, it says, and these are just the results of the survey, it has what all the women were looking for. And if you look at their comments, it's all anonymous because the survey is, but like-minded women, like-minded women, like-minded women. So that's what really people are so hungry for. So you can take a pic of that, and that has the rest of the survey questions on there. So with that said, one quick thing I want to do is, I'm being really good about social media. So I'm going to be announcing some really great programs that we have in the fall. But tonight, if you post a picture with the hashtag Women's Wellness Exchange, and it's on the paperwork on your table, you will be entered into a drawing to receive a ticket to one of the events that we're hosting in the fall. So a little bit of an incentive to share with the world all this wonderful, good juju that we have here today.
And also tag Blue Moon as your location.
And tag Blue Moon as your location.
The moon.
Okay, so here we are with this panel workshop. Again, we want this to be a conversation. It will be followed up by Q&A. You have some index cards on your table to submit questions. So we'll take that, and maybe we'll take some live questions as well. We just wanted to gather to see what the vibe is of the room. So as I mentioned, I get to meet with the panelists before because we kind of plan everything out, and we just had such a great conversation. So first of all, I will introduce Lanta Totten. Lanta, I just met really in the last few months, and I think through Hilary? Yes, yeah, thank you. Love referrals.
And Jessica.
And Jessica. And so Lanta owns a yoga studio in Northwood, and it's, tell me the name again.
Nourish Body, Mind, Soul.
Nourish Body, Mind, Soul. And she's had her own transformation through, finding yoga after her 14-month-old son was going through some traumatic health experiences. So again, yoga helped her, and then she became a yoga teacher. She also created something really cool. Again, this is like what is planting these beautiful seeds. She created the Unity Fund, which is a fund to help people who wouldn't normally be able to afford yoga training, teacher certification, so that they can apply for a scholarship. And hopefully you'll talk about that, and let's make sure we get that out because I know you're seeking applications now. So Kath Gallant, founder of the Blue Moon, 25 years. Kath and I worked together for several years. We had Dig In Real Food Solutions. We have held many forums here with Gary Hirschberg, with farmers, with women's, and it was my pleasure. And I was thinking about what fuels my soul. And I think some of my favorite times when we were working together was sitting at Kath's coffee table after in her house, and she would make soup, and we would sit there and we would create, and we would draw these big pictures of what we wanted to do. And I'll never forget that. To me, being an entrepreneur is about creating and putting something new out into the world, and I really love those times. So Kath is a creative chef and educator. She's been recognized as New Hampshire's Remarkable Woman of Cuisine and New Hampshire's top 100 women in business for many years, and is just a pillar of this community in so many ways. I know you're going to talk more about your why tonight, but we would not be here without Kath, so thank you so much. And Hilary Crowley, I'm so excited that you're here. We've known each other for many years, but really reconnected with the Women's Wellness Exchange. Hilary is a natural health intuitive at Whole Life Healthcare. I think there's a few people here maybe from Whole Life Healthcare. Awesome. Oh, several. Got a whole group. She is the author of The Power of Energy Medicine, and talking about putting yourself out there, talking about stretching your boundaries. Try writing a book. It's not easy. And she got a major publisher. So we need to have you have a conversation with us about how you did that. So, but this book is beautiful because it's about self-inquiry. It's about trusting our intuition. It's about believing in ourselves, and I love it. It's short and sweet excerpts. It's really a wonderful tool for any of your clients or for yourself. And she has books up here that she's going to sign if you wanted to purchase that tonight. So. Okay, so let me get to the questions for the panel. So we're going to try and keep this moving along a little bit. I guess the first question really is, what's your why? And really what inspired you to do what you do? So really, what's your why? We all have one, right? That all put us on this journey. So why don't we go ahead and start with Lanta. What is your why?
That's mean, huh? My why. I love yoga. And when I say yoga, I want to be really clear. What I love is the eightfold path of yoga, so that we're stepping beyond the idea of an asana or posing posture-based yoga, but really studying the whole ethical foundation and pranayama and all the goodness. I love it. I just love it. And so what inspires me, you might appreciate this story. I love to make accents. I've been teaching now about 11 years. I've owned my studio. It'll be 2 years at the end of this month. And about 3 years ago, I'm at a Grange Hall teaching yoga by donation. I have no desire to ever own another business in my life. This man comes in, big, burly guy with a flat top, smells like cigar smoke, coming to my yoga class, right? He gets there early. He tells me, I never thought I'd like yoga, but I gave it a try. I'm like, oh. And he says, so I'm going to do this yoga thing too. Okay. I get him set up. Bless his heart, he did it. At the end, he sticks around, and now I'm in this big Grange Hall by myself in the middle of nowhere with this big burly guy, and I'm thinking, oh, I've misread this room. Right? And then he's standing there with a $20 bill, and I said, would you like to go to the donation cup and break that? I thought he might need change. And he says, oh no, you take it. You have no idea how invaluable you are. I never knew I could suck in so much air. So this man now, still, fast forward 3 years later, has maybe missed 5 classes in 3 years. He's lost 50 pounds. He's quit smoking cigars. And he will tell everyone about yoga and just do everything she says. So when it was time for me to open my studio, I wanted it to be a studio where diversity was celebrated, where everyone was welcome, and he's my reason to be.
You got the accent, you nailed it.
He's from Massachusetts.
Hey!
She sounds like a
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going
What's
to
the
stand
why?
up so I'm grounded here.
Okay.
Okay, so first when I thought, what is my why? I thought we each have our story and we each have our why. And there isn't one why that fits the bill for everyone. So my story is that I was the youngest of 6 children of the Bart O'Leary family, but I was the youngest of the 2nd generation of the O'Leary clan of Portsmouth. And I was the end of, I have 62 cousins, if you can believe it. And I was the very youngest, and I was the wild child. Everyone in my family all of my siblings went to college. I didn't. I was kind of the one that forged my own path. And when I say, why did I do my why, it's because I can. Because I believed I could. I just, I had this sense of, if there was a will, there was a way. And that actually is part of my family story also. I have an aunt who lived to be 103, Aunt Betty, who told us at 90 she didn't like being called Betty and wanted to be called Lizzie. So talking about rebranding. But, you know, she would give the O'Leary cheer, give me an O, give me an L. But she would also say, my mother used to say, some people say where there's a will, there's a way. My mother said where there's a will, there's 7 ways. And I even raised that bar to infinite ways. So if you have the will to do something, things unfold and things come to you. And you just follow your path. And I love Frozen, like do the next right thing. Sometimes you don't know exactly where you're going to end, but you know that if you follow your path and you follow your dream, things have a way of unfolding. And I will say with that, there are also stop signs, or, you know, you try something again and again and again, it's not working. Well, that maybe means it's not the right time. You know, when things are meant to be, they have a way of just opening. So really having that can-do attitude, like believe that you can do it, and then the will creates the way. And so that's my why behind everything, was I just kept following my bliss. And really, I dropped out of high school as a sophomore, and because I wasn't thriving in a school environment, but I continued to educate myself for another 45, 50 years. You know, I'm educated, I'm not formally educated. So there's not one way to do things. And so I really encourage you to each find your own why and your own story and your own dream, and pull up that will and that believing and that can-do attitude. So my why is really rooted in belief and will, and I'll deal with the other things that go with it later. But I do it because I love to do what I do, and whenever something gets off or wrong, then I work on. The garden of your soul is. Oh, I don't have it. I have to read it. Let me think about how what he said was, you're the gardener of your own will, and your garden is, I've fouled up Shakespeare, but you're the garden and your will is the gardener. That's what it is. So really take care of yourself and follow your own will and your dreams, and I'll end with that. Where are my notes?
Okay, so both of these women, including you, so all 3 of these women have had such a beautiful influence on my life that it's really hard for me to continue with what's my why without being moved and fed by what I just heard. And also, Lanta, you've been amazing. I think we did a vision board on January 2nd, and here we are. And so the Nourish studio got me through COVID. Unfortunately, I don't know if you noticed, there's more cars on the road now, so my commute's a little bit longer up to Northwood, but I enjoy it. And then, Kath, I'm realizing I'm sitting at your front door, and everything you just gave to all of us, you gave to me every time I walked in looking for, you know, trace mineral products and 7th generation, and then when it was time to the diapers that are biodegradable, and like you, I just want you to know, Kath has done that for every single person who's walked into this space over 25 years. So, and it's a little bit of a twist, but that's the way energy works. That it would make sense that Kath would go there, and I'd say, Kath is one of those people who is my why, because she saw me. How are you doing, Hilary? Good. Yeah. You definitely want to get this product. You want to do this. How's your pregnancy going? How's, you know, just there's a whole part of, I might as well tell you because you're the inside folks. I love my book's title. It's called The Power of Energy Medicine. But what I would have loved more was the title I wanted, which is What Holds Us Together. What holds us together, and it's in one of the chapters. And I respect the sales team because, you know, when I was talking to the publishing house, I have a great editor who, by the way, is like a homesteader over in Brattleboro, even though they're in Midtown Manhattan. Like, you never know who's going to be people. And she's like, I like your title too, but the sales team. And I said, can I argue with the sales team? She's like, no. I'm like, I'm going to start using the sales team for every sentence I start. Well, the sales team says you got to go with this. So anyway, my why is what holds us together. It's this story that knew that I'd be sitting here one day next to Kath, and the millions of meals I've had in this room, and the space of this beautiful area that we live in, and just watching how it weaves and weaves and weaves more deeply. And my why is that I don't want to go through this life without witnessing that, sharing that, and lifting everybody else up as their own beautiful, I call it the body's natural intelligence needs to continue to be lifted up, elevated, and spoken about. So even though you said conversation, I'm saying it again. It's about continuing a conversation and staying out of silence. And I'm surrounded by 3 beautiful women who aren't having it with the silence. I've never known any of you too. So my why is to keep lifting it up, keep lifting the conversation up. That's my why. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So one of the things that really came up for us when we were talking was about how we define success, which I think for women in wellness that, of course, we'd love to make $1 million and, but we're not on that linear push, do mode. Or maybe we are. Wherever we are, that's okay. But I think we're all kind of realizing that there's many different ways to define success. And so, again, as we bring in this more feminine approach, as we bring in our values, and do we feel aligned, and do we feel, relaxed, and, we're all in this wellness, we're all looking for that to be present in our lives. So I guess what we wanted to talk about, and we'd love to hear from you guys, is how you really define success. How do you feel in it? How do you know when you're out of it? How do you set boundaries to say this is not working for me and this does not feel like success? Because, I think we're probably all a little bit guilty of like giving really good advice and then not doing it ourselves. So let's just start. Let's start with Hilary.
I'll do that. I'm okay, but you gotta let me check my notes. What did I say? I said I love what I do. So my definition of success is not having it taken away from me, which is no small thing in this world of wellness, that you find what you love and then you hold on to it and you build from it and you don't let it be taken away from you. I'm in a writing group in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and one time, so I cheated a little in the best way, because one time we had a writing, it was like some sort of a writing exercise that said, describe what your best day is. And so I grabbed from that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So my best day is that, let me look at my notes. It's time to write, so that we can all, time to reflect, time to exercise and take care of myself, time to do my career. Like, a lot of people, their best day is a vacation. I love what I do. I know vacation is part of my career and it's time to have like downtime and so forth, but I get really filled up when I'm doing what I love. Really filled up. You just experienced that, right? Yeah, like doing what you love and wanting to get back to it. So doing what I love, career-wise, and then having time with my loved ones. But that's quality. So I have that right now in my life. I want more of it. That's my idea of success. And I would challenge everyone to take inventory on what you love in your life and just say you want more of that. In the middle of COVID, I did some kind of an abundance. I'm sure we all did a class on sort of abundance with all sorts of Zoom classes. And one of them was to find your sankalpa, your ultimate ask. You know what it is, right? Yeah, okay. And so I couldn't come to my ultimate ask. I couldn't think of like the Ferrari or, what I wanted. And I realized I wanted more of what I already have. And that to me is my success. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
Kath.
Mind if I
You're in the
stand up?
middle
I have to
again.
be a little grounded here. We'll tell you about that later.
I love it.
So, we each, it's really amazing because we each do have, I would encourage you to take these 4 why, success, leap of faith, and future for your own work, for your own journaling, because this exercise that we all had was really amazing and enriching. So my definition of success are four things that are incredibly important to me. One is that I have happiness and joy in my life, that I have a connection with my first family, community, that I am in service in that because I like doing, I like giving, I like exchanging. Third is growth. I've never been stagnant. I like what's new, what's next. I like to master something and move on. And fourth, I'm going to call vibrance because I feel like that's our essence of self. And those are things that are important to me. And if I'm successful, all of those things are kind of happening in synergy in my life. And I think the key for my business has been if something goes out of whack, I'm willing to kind of take it head on and not be afraid and avoid it or let it grow. I kind of like, not happening here. And because it messes with my happiness or my joy. And I have to say that I called it graduated. I ended my 25-year career with the COVID shutdown. And so I never really had any closure of like, this is the end of 25 culmination. But I accepted it in a way. But I also, what was my point with that? Sorry.
Closure?
I lost my point of that. But, I know. But for 25 years, if you can believe it, I always was happy to come here. I never once didn't want to come here. I might have had to come and do some hard work. I might have come and said, I've got boundaries here that you're messing with my happiness or you're messing with my moral compass or my ethics or how you're treating others isn't jiving with what I want in this space. I mean, I wasn't the easiest boss, and probably my employees will tell you that, but I held the line for a safe place and what was important to me because I needed to come here and feel right. So finding what your definition of success and what makes your world and your situation nourish you and feed you back and be vital and growing is what I guess I would define success. For me, family first was always an incredible piece. I said we could sacrifice but not compromise. You know, once my son went to turn the stereo on, he's like, "Mom, the stereo's gone at that home." I'm like, "Oh, we needed it down at the moon." And, you know, so we did without it home, but really my children, I always came first. And for 15 years, we had a natural foods market cafe, so it was 9 to 5. And after 15 years, we evolved into evolution, and that's another story. But it grew within the boundaries of what I defined of what made my world, because you are the master of your ship as your own owner. You get to say where your boundaries are. So I encourage you to think about what makes you happy and then create your business and your world around that.
What does success mean for you?
What does success mean for me? I always like to have hard conversations. I'm that person, so just heads up. So I'll be honest, I owned a day spa 20 years ago, and profit was the main driver at that stage in my life. You know, I was having a family, I was getting married, I was buying a home, I was getting started, and that was important. But now, 20 years later, I'm in a different situation, and so I get to open this beautiful yoga studio and do it because I love it. And so what my definition for success in this stage of my life, and I wanted to share that, is I want you to know that we're all going to be at different stages, and each one is okay. We don't have to vilify money, but we also don't have to hoard it or get into a lack mentality, right? And I just felt the need to say that to you with so much love. But today I have the good fortune to be in a place to open a studio and run it. It stays open, but it isn't, you know, it's not giving me money. It's giving me a thriving community. It's giving me an opportunity to share with people the way yoga's touched my life and given me an opportunity to touch their lives with it. Thriving community, I think, is the biggest thing I want to say. For me, it's about, I took over an existing studio, and I thought I'd worked there for 9 years, and I thought I was holding space for an existing entity, right? But it didn't work out that way. And I got a little insecure and a little triggered and a little I'm not good enough and all the things that you do, right? Because that's what I do or did. And it gave me this beautiful opportunity in COVID. I'm the only person grateful for COVID because Okay, I'm so glad I'm not alone. Thriving community. I was able to mute the Zoom, and I was able to come back to my practice and remember what I was doing there, remember what I had to offer. And when I found myself again in that clarity, when the studio opened up, I had a vision that wasn't doing what my former employer did. It was creating what I wanted for myself boldly. And now it is successful. It is helping me out a little more than it did in the beginning. And I wrote down every day for 6 months, I want my studio filled with students who are excited and curious and ready to go on a journey with me.
Wow.
Every day I wrote that in my journal, and they arrived. So that is what success is for me.
Yeah.
And I just will add too, for me, of course it's balance and boundaries and so forth. But I think as an entrepreneur and someone who is passionate about wellness, I just love creating things. I love creating programs. As I was saying with Kath, when I wrote a women's self-care journal, and I spent a year. I got a writing coach. And I never felt more aligned with who I was than when I was writing every single day. I felt so at peace with myself. I felt like I was really following that path. And so just, it's so easy to get caught up in all the gone details, get the emails, get the newsletter out, all this kind of stuff. And I really try and create a day where I am just creating, where I'm just writing, where I'm just trying to think, and I turn off my computer or my phone, and it's a struggle because you can really get sucked into that. But I just find that those times where I'm creating, I love collaborating, I love sitting down with pieces of paper on a table and getting my head around something. And so anyway, that was just my little. So we talked about this a little bit, just, when you put something out there, it's a leap of faith, right? It is a leap of faith. Hopefully you've done your homework and you've researched some of the things and you're building your mailing list or so forth. But we wanted to share, what everyone's biggest leap of faith was, and what were some of the limiting beliefs that we had to overcome to really take that leap of faith. Because I think we probably all have many, many ideas all the time, and those ideas get sucked off, by fear and, losing momentum and so forth. So, Kath, why don't you start? Your big leap of faith and how you held true to it.
Okay, so, technical. I think you're all good there. So, my biggest leap of faith that I want to talk about came 15 years in my business. And the world was kind of crumbling around me. The supermarkets started carrying their natural food. I had a health food store. And the products that I carried on my shelf I was paying more from them from my distributor than I could buy them for at the supermarket, because they were doing loss leaders for this, kombucha. Once you could get kombucha at the supermarket, I knew the tide was changing.
Look at it now. You were very into
This is 2010. Food Inc. came out, where I knew our food industry was bad, but I didn't know how bad it was. And I realized that I did a timeline on the natural food industry, and I realized that the products on my shelf, Knudsen, Cascadian Farm, had all been bought out by Pillsbury and the major manufacturers at that time. So I really wanted to know where my food came from. And I also went to, it was the first national conference for slow money. It was kind of a slow food spin-off, where Woody Tash had the mission of bringing food back to the soil and encourage people to go to their community for asking for money, which was kind of always a taboo. And and actually at that conference, Bill McKibben, who is a kind of an earth ecologist guru, came out and said, 10, 10, 10. Do something, do one thing to make a change. And I'm sitting in the audience as my natural foods market is sort of dissolving, and I don't really know what's next. I'm like, everything was kind of shifting. And I said, I'm creating change. 10, 10, 10. I'm going to shift my business. Well, then we as a family decided to do a fundraiser called Earth Dinner for the Chefs Collaborative, and we got chicken from a local farm and potatoes from Heron Farm and pork from Flag Hill Winery, and really I want to say it was one of the first locally sourced meals that this community had ever seen. And my daughter, who had been in the restaurant world in Portsmouth, kind of got a serving team. We had live music, and we nailed it. It was such a high vibe, like knowing where your food came from. It was sort of a revolutionary idea. And at the end of the night, that my son came to me and said, he was a musician, he's like, Mom, you've got to do this, and we've called it evolution. And I'm like, So the reality is, when you decide to take a leap of faith, you have a choice. You can either be afraid and be driven by fear, or you can trust. And there's really two definite, you can just trust that things are going to work out. And really, that you can't do both. You have to really dive into trust that things will work out, and they do. The world is constantly changing and aligning with what we're calling for. So you might not know exactly how everything is going to be. Like, I didn't know, this was 10 years ago, that I would be standing here and this would be the next evolution. So, but things have a natural order, and if you follow with your happiness guide, like, you make sure that it's cohesive and that it fits with your family and that you're not compromising. My family started growing, my children started leaving, so I could work nights and I wasn't leaving kids at home. So things change. So following really that trust that things are going to work out. Don't be afraid and wonder if they're going to work out. And I have one other trusting. Oh, and I guess the other thing is, there are little signs that come along the way, little things that come to you, like you'll be thinking, like I was wondering, is evolution the right name? And I had started all of my seeds at Shaw Hill Farm that year, and I went to the big tag box to pull out my flower. They had some recycled plant tags, and I pulled out one, and there was a tag that said evolution. And I still have that tag to this day. I almost brought it. So listen to your signs. Trust yourself, trust that the universe will bring you what you need, and take that leap of faith, because it's, why not, right? That's it.
I love that word trust. You know, how many times we doubt ourselves, so thank you, Kath, for that reminder. Yeah.
I want to go. Leave me alone. I love what you said about will previously, and then about trust. So my husband would tell you that I never think about it. I just go for it, and then he cobbles it together. I only rely very heavily on his technical skills and building and everything. So when you asked this question, I was really stuck. What's a vulnerable moment for me? I don't ever think about it. I just go for it. And then I realized that this is really the opportunity to talk about the Unity Fund. And I'm going to correct you a little, because I don't think we've been clear. It isn't about people who can't afford to go to yoga teacher training. I completed a book club through my studio with Skill in Action. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Michelle Cassandra Johnson. She's a fabulous yoga teacher and author, a woman of color. And we did this book club, and we studied the tenets of yoga, and at the end she asked you to commit. What is one thing that you can do? I thought, oh gosh, I don't know. How do you take on social justice with one person, right? And I kept thinking I had to do it, right? And then my girlfriend, and I was thinking, I want diversity in my studio. I say everybody's welcome. I've thought about how maybe a differently abled person might come to the studio. We could do it. And then I had a girlfriend, a really close friend, who is heavy set, and she's never come to yoga with me, ever in 11 years. And then I said, why don't you come? She's like, oh no, I found this great lady on the internet. She's a heavy lady. Her name's I Am Jessamine. I'm giving her a little plug because she made this accessible for my friend. And at first I was a little crushed, like, what? I've been here loving up on you this whole time, and you didn't give me a chance. And then I realized, you know what? We want to see ourselves reflected in our teacher, right? So I can't have diversity if I don't have diversity in my teachers. So the Unity Teacher Training Fund is for Indigenous people, people of color, people who are trans or non-binary, people who are differently abled or differently built, people that we don't see every day in front of us in yoga class. And that is really vulnerable to say out loud. I have had to work so darn hard. I had to come up against societal training that we do not talk about religion and politics and race, ever. Certainly then don't go put that on your business. You're just coming out of COVID business, right? I was so afraid, and it is probably the first time in my life I've been really fearful about something I've put forth because I wasn't sure if it would be polarizing, if it would be alienating. Would anybody even want to come or support it? And it's been interesting. It's been really interesting and challenging to talk about these things. But we mentioned silence, and I love that you always throw the word out that I want to hear. I wanted to be silent. I was so afraid. But silence is complicity. I'm sorry, I always say the things. And I couldn't be silent. I'd made a commitment. And it came into then I had to, words, Lanta. I had to find a way to say it out loud a lot. And what I realized is that the Unity Fund is my passion project. It's vulnerable to me because I had to put myself out there and say words like anti-racism. Right? I had to say things that were a little hot, right? But then I also realized that where my passion came with it, I'm getting there, I swear, is it's an invitation. What I did was the one thing I could do in that day. I took a look at my resources and my bandwidth. I have 3 young sons. I couldn't sell my house and go stand in protests, right? What would I raise? What would my kids say about that? They would come away hating that movement, right? You can see how that might occur. So instead, what I said is, I can do this. And so when I share this fund with you, it has raised the money to do the scholarship at the end of this month. What can you do? As a wellness community, what can we do? We don't all have to fix it. We don't have to do all the things. We can take a look at our bandwidth and our resources and our energy levels and our maybe really handy life partners and do a thing. And if we're all doing a thing that says you're welcome, and we're going to amplify these voices of everyone's experiences, then we're really doing something magical, and we don't have to do it alone. So to me, it's community and all the things. Was that the dinger that said stop talking? No! Please? Clearly it's still vulnerable to talk about these topics.
And you can see the vulnerability and the passion, particularly launching something like that this last year.
Yeah.
With so many opinions and so many, so thank you for doing courageous. Yes, very courageous.
Thank you very much.
Did you go?
No, go ahead.
Imagine having her as your yoga teacher and the leg lifts, which is not a move I knew about, but she's gonna get those whatever, I don't know what muscle you have to be working. Imagine, and Nourish is on Zoom, so you can actually.
Oh my gosh!
I'm just saying. You put together a really nice program, and Nourish is on Zoom. So you can walk into your room and get on the mat, or you can drive up to Northwood. So,
I'm blushing.
good work.
Love
Really.
You. Thank you. Tell us about your.
What was the question? Both of you.
What is your leap of faith?
Oh, right. Look at you. So Kath just whispered in my ear. She's like, "It's your book. It's your book." She's like, "But this is I love that we're together talking business, because those of us over at Whole Life Healthcare, we need to talk about the business of being able to make ourselves available. And I'm going to tell you the other working title that didn't go for the Power of Energy Medicine. It was my very first one, and it was called Not Mine to Keep. Not Mine to Keep. And it made no sense to the sales team. They're like,
Damn sales team.
they're like, what's not yours to keep, right? Keep what? What are you talking about? What section does that go in? So I can do accents too.
I know.
So, but I haven't met the sales team, so I don't even know what they're. Honestly, I think the sales team are like middle school kids who
They know all the tech.
They're like, what? Who agreed to doing this book? Like, what is energy? Just so you know, if you ever want to know the most skeptical, the hardest audience you ever want to know about the world of wellness, it's the teenagers. Okay? It's not male versus female. It's not. I'm just trying to think of like what we used to think were people who were into wellness, like not like the people who drive the Harleys, who are probably in this room, right? You're like, don't mess with the Harleys, right? But the point is there's no group of people who don't want wellness. except the teenagers who are trying to hold their boundaries and be like, I just don't want to be like you guys, right? So that's what
15-year-old daughter.
that's what I think the sales team is. I think the sales team are like, we're not sure. So anyway, Not Mine to Keep was another working title, and that's my leap of faith, because I said, I see too much wonder, I see too much beauty, I see too many things. I work in healthcare, so it is all so gosh darn confidential that you do have to keep it. You got to keep it quiet. But my heart was bursting with love, and I said, I'm going to find a way to get this on the page that respects confidentiality. Although, Lori, I forgot to tell you that that you're in chapter 6. I thought I called everybody. But so, because Lori ran the Reiki Oncology program at Exeter Hospital in 2001. So, let's not wonder who's in this list. And you spoke to the administrators and you said, if they're doing chemo and they're doing radiation, they know all about energy. So let's bring a little bit more energy. So we live in a really amazing time, and it's not ours to keep silent. And it's not ours to push other people down to be silent. So that's my leap of faith, which is, now I don't know who's going to read my book. It's a really weird thing when you're like, I put a lot of stuff out there, and it could be anybody's. I can feel my 5th chakra shutting down as I speak about it. Do you notice the blue I'm wearing? Do you notice the blue? My mindfulness coach over here is helping me. So anyway, forget the question. I still forgot it. But it's the leap of faith. The leap of faith is, because watch me, I was shutting down. I'm trying to not shut down and just stay awake and keep going forward and speaking what our truth is. And you all have your truth inside of you. Once you find it, keep it going. That will feel like a leap of faith.
Beautiful.
Well done.
Good job. I was thinking about this leap of faith and finding our voice. And when I left Washington, D.C., moved to New Hampshire, and I was in corporate communications, but I was there, the back end, supporting everybody else. I used to get nervous saying my name around a table. I could not get up and speak in front of people. And when and then here I come to teach classes and stuff, and I was just like, I know I'm going to be really shitty the first couple years, but I just kept doing it, and was able to get up in front of hundreds of people and, find my voice. That's a leap of friggin' faith, right? Yeah.
Oh, and do put dessert down.
Yes.
So I don't know if Alyssa would be kosher. Would you be kosher with people clearing their own to the dish pit, or would you rather not? Okay.
Yeah, you can
just
come.
take 5 minutes and let them
Can they
clear and
just
put
do it
dessert
while we
down?
do it? Or?
I think maybe it would be just a good little. They need to
5
clear
minutes?
and put dessert down.
Okay.
So
But
take
we've
5
got one more
minutes.
question, so a 5-minute break if you've got to grab something to drink or
Or if you need a to-go box too, that would be a good.
Oops, sorry. Well, this is the last question.
And then we'll open it up.
I think I'm just going to stand up.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, go for it.
And I lost my
I
last.
could just tell they couldn't clear and I knew that
I love that word house. I do it with like cereals and you go for the house.
Well, you know what? I think we should get some of them. Yeah. And the exercise. And really
On my show.
Got my